What's this pull that you had to create and start things?
It could just be because I didn't know what to do. And as long as you keep moving, like in traffic, you can be on the right path, but you're stuck. Or you can take the side streets. It might take you twice as long, but you're moving and you feel like you're progressing and doing something. That's probably what that is. I'm on Punt Road and I've gone, this is chaos. You just turn left and you just follow your way through it, roundabouts, chicanes, this and that, but you get your way through.
Hey Laura, what happens when your year 12 score feels like a punch to the gut and you don't want anyone to ask about it? I can see you thinking. For Athan Didaskalou, co-founder of the global travel brand July, this moment wasn't the end of the story. It was just the beginning of a completely different one. Athan's journey since then is a powerful reminder that success rarely looks linear. That's true, Laura. From hands-on learning in his dad's garage to trying and failing at multiple ideas, to finding partnership, creativity and purpose, Athan has built a career defined by curiosity, problem-solving and the courage to take the next step even when he didn't know all the answers.
In this conversation, he shares what he wishes teenagers knew about confidence.
So we're excited, Laura.
Why effort matters more than ranking, how supportive parents can change the story entirely, and why running your own game is sometimes the most important lesson of all. If you or someone you know is navigating results season, feeling overwhelmed or unsure of what comes next, this episode will bring perspective, reassurance, and possibility. Welcome to this episode of More Than a Score.
Hi, everyone. It's good to have you here.
All right, we're on.
We're on?
Loz, do you need to check your phone? Are you okay?
Is it on silent?
Yeah.
It's on silent.
Okay.
I was
Is
just
it
taking
on
photos of
vibrate
you.
as well?
Oh.
How much are we kissing the mic on this one? Is this one of those ones? Or is
We've
it?
been advised best practice is to not kiss the microphone, but to go 4 fingers away. So the whole time you can sit with 4.
Okay, great.
Is that that's a James Patterson
That's a James Patterson. Good on you, James Patterson.
There you go.
recommendation.
What does he do?
What is it? He now runs like a creative company called Miniature, and they do helping people launch and do their podcast shows.
Oh,
so
that's
it's sort of like podcast production and also marketing for it.
Is he helping you guys? No.
He's been.
No,
You're like, no, he's shit.
No, I did his short course, I suppose, that he was trying to kind of get feedback on. So I did that. It was great. It was really helpful.
And because of what he helped you do, so you wrote a pitch to Lael Stone.
Yes.
And then we got
you know
her
Lael
books.
Stone?
Lael Stone's very influential in the parenting space and also
Yeah.
sort of like
Yeah, she
parenting
came on the pod.
educational space.
Oh, cool. Nice.
Reached out. So Pato,
Yeah.
he was helpful.
Don't ask, don't get.
Correct.
Well, that's it. We
Correct.
talk about, often like if you don't ask, it's a no.
Yeah.
So
How old are your kids?
7, 5 and 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Similar.
oh my gosh, yeah, I've got 9, 7 and 2.
Yeah, that's right. Big gap.
We're deep in the trench though, right? We are still in the trench, mate. All right, Athan Didaskalou, thank you so much for joining us on More Than a Score. There was a surprise.
Yeah.
Great pronunciation. Great pronunciation.
I did ask him, and I'm like, you know what? You can take that.
Most people look at it and go, Athan, welcome.
Athan D, welcome. How do people butcher it? Should I ask that? How do people butcher it?
Who knows
What's
how?
been the
It's
worst?
very phonetic, so I don't get it. You know, I don't
It
understand
is
how.
actually quite phonetic.
You say what's there. Athan, I'm very lucky. I get to do an intro for each guest with this. So I'm not sure. It's okay if you haven't listened to any episodes, but I'm going to try out one that I was bringing together some thoughts around you, okay? Oh, he's trying to look at the sheet, Laura.
Yeah, don't look, Athan.
He's got good eye. So, bilingual, creative, family businessman, charismatic storyteller, interested in conversations, generous, warm, whip smart entrepreneur, lover of strategy, brands, and doing things a little differently, dad of 3, and an expert cutter of roasted chickens, starting companies, and the founder of July.
Mate, I need to get married again. And you need to MC it. That was fantastic.
I'm happy to. You need to host it.
I'll renew the vows. Sham, if you're watching, we've got the guy. That's an intro and a half.
Right.
Wow, thank you very much.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you on More Than a Score. I've been so excited to have you on because I do think, like, one of the things when I was thinking about you and doing some further reading on you, some words that came through where people spoke about you being generous and warm. And I also remember, full disclosure, we did go to school together at some point. So I do still remember you being so great with just the timing of different things and that energy that you always bring. But when we think of the time at school. So when you think of the end of school, were you happy with your score?
Are you ever happy with the score, with the end result, right? That's the real question. Was I happy? No. It was such a sore point for me back in the day because it was such a low score. And I remember really flunking year 12, like really not doing anything of value during that year. So I remember the score being quite a sore point, to the point where, like, you know, we just refused to talk about it. And it was a really big thing. But then it kind of went away, and then it doesn't really matter anymore. And so it doesn't come up again. In fact, this is probably the first time in 20 years.
I'm so sorry
I'm
for
talking
asking.
about. No, but it is such a funny feeling to have it come up and go like, what is the feeling of that score? And that I still remember. There was one moment I do remember, because I know you asked me, like, just think of some things from back in the day, and I couldn't remember a thing. I sort of blocked a lot of it out, not in a bad way, but it's just been so long. But I do remember my style, even to this day, is very last minute. And so I'll put in 150%, but only in the last few days. But in year 12, you can't really get away with that shit. And I remember particularly with media, the media assignment.
Yep.
You
And
definitely can't get away with that.
because it takes you weeks to put stuff
Totally.
together.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't do it. And then something happened to the laptop. And I remember he's just going like, I've just got a failure. I remember going to the bathrooms and just like having this, what would now be classified as probably an anxiety attack. But back then it was just you being a wuss in the loo and just going like, I've wasted it. And so I do remember that feeling of not pushing through and not doing enough in that year, because I feel like leading up to that it was decent. It wasn't too bad. But, you know, it's one of those things now in hindsight. You can look back and go, it didn't really matter. It would have been great to have done a little bit more effort. And I think the effort to have then gotten a result and just chosen not to use that result is a very different thing.
Yeah.
To then being just disregarding it, not realizing the opportunity that you had, and sort of seeing it as wasted time.
You said the word flunking, and you literally had this moment of media where a teacher said, I have to fail you. Why do you use those words when you talk about year 12 instead of just like, I didn't put the effort in? You're talking about failure here.
Well, I wouldn't say the year 12 was a failure, but there were certain elements where they were just wasted opportunities.
Yeah.
And the failure was in myself to not realise them as opportunities. You know, you're cracking 40 now and you see the world a lot differently, and you go like, "Wow, that was a cool thing to do. To go to school, to be able to study the things that we studied, meet great people, work with great people around you. Like it's something that is unique, and you don't always get the opportunity to do it, and you only know that in hindsight. When you are 17." You don't give a shit about any of those things. All you want to do is get your license, start going out, meet as many women as possible, drink, all these things. So that's, I guess, in hindsight, it feels a little bit like that. Or it felt like that anyway back in the day. You know, obviously now I don't think any of that was a failure, and everything that's happened since has been a great learning curve. But I guess that was a unnatural bias to call it a failure, but it's only because I don't talk about this stuff that often. You know, I'm not used to. Yeah, let's switch it back to suitcases or something like that, or chickens. I've got to switch the topic. Education's tough. Well, it's a tough thing to think about back in the day.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the sort of perception that it's never going to be good enough in some sort of way, but the reason that we started the podcast was school's just the start. It doesn't actually, like, that's not it. Like, if you think of since you left school, you've been at school the equivalent, because it's now coming up to 22 years, so nearly 2 times over. Your whole 13-year period of going to school, you've nearly had that since then. So school's just the start. It's that really short, especially high school, just a short period. So there's no guarantees. But I was thinking of that moment, so you get that score, and I'm sorry to dig back to this, but so much so that you just said we just won't talk about it. And so I'm really fascinated to know what helped you bounce back or just manage that sense of like, oh shit, this didn't go as well as I wanted.
If I can reflect on the year 12 score stuff, I'd say that it's the first time that many of us are getting ranked. Unless you're playing professional sport as a kid, you know, you those kids that do the tennis training or the swimming training every morning, and you're used to being ranked, I'd say for a good 80, 90% of kids don't get ranked. And that's the first time you got a number to your name where you're ranked, and you're probably not used to it emotionally. I wasn't used to it emotionally. I don't know, sweeping statements, but I wasn't. And so I think for me, what I find in my current life is that I don't necessarily do things on par, and therefore not a direct comparison. Therefore, I run my own game. And the most obvious example for me is actually car ownership right now. I don't own a car. Instead, I have a Vespa scooter that I've had for the last 18, 19 years. Now, it doesn't cost very much, but it always looks pretty good. And there's never a benchmark to set myself on, right? Like, am I driving a Volkswagen or a Beamer or a Land Rover? All these things, it's just basically it's been its own little game. And I would say that that's probably a learning for me that I would have taken on very early stages. It could have been from even back then, because straight after year 12, I decided uni wasn't for me anyway, and went straight into working and trying out something else and trying new things. So if I had to make it up right now, I'd say that's a trait that I'd learned at around that stage, to try and then break away from the benchmarking, to then go, well, I don't necessarily want to be ranked. I'm going to go and do something else. So actually, you can't really rank me in amongst my peers, because I'm doing something slightly different, which is cool in its own thing, and I've just got to be comfortable doing that thing.
Yeah, and you said that you used the words just then, run your own game. So you were because sometimes people can feel like things are being done to them, so you get some score. And I love that description you gave about first time of being ranked. Like, I think that's so true. And instead of you feeling, right, so something's been done to me, you then flipped it and said, okay, so what am I going to do with this? What's the way that I'm going to see? How can I run my own game and make something from this?
It's a protection mechanism, probably. You know, I'm going to do my own thing. Whereas you go into uni, you got enter scores. What are you studying? You're doing some cool stuff. I went to go and start my own business, which is a cool thing to say. Whether I wanted to do that or not, I don't know, right? In 20 odd years ago. But it was a cool thing to say at the time. And sometimes it gets you through. I find that the barbecue conversations are probably the hardest ones to have when it comes to enter scores or next steps or what do you do. I know I found a lot of struggle in that. Because, you know, people want to know how you did. People want to know what you're doing next. And if you're not doing that, what are you going to do? And you've always got to have answers for those things. And if they're not good answers, you kind of feel
or
the
not
pressure.
typical answers.
Not typical answers. Yeah. Well, you think you don't know what to think, right? Or you know that the question's coming. You know that we're going to a lunch, and you're thinking about it for 2-3 hours prior. You know, like, fuck that, you know, I know it's going to come up. How do I avoid talking about work? How do we avoid talking about this? You feel like you always got to have a standard answer to things. If you can get creative with it, if you can pick something that's not very benchmarkable, I feel like you get out of those situations a bit better. You know, and I would say for most of my post-high school life has been around getting out of that benchmark, if I had to make it up right now.
Yeah. It's interesting, though, those, as you say, those barbecue conversations. Dan and I were talking about this in the car on the way up here, how humans just love to put people into a box. So I don't know if people are that interested in what you're doing. You feel insecure about it because you're like, I don't have a snappy answer. But people just ask, it's like when you go to the grocery store and people are like, how are you going? Like, no one actually cares how you're going. You say, yes, fine, just to move the conversation along. But because you don't have that snappy answer, it creates this sort of, I don't want to say insecurity, but this moment of like, what do I say? But the irony is, like, if it's not career, it's relationships, right? Like, your career's going really well, but you're single, or you're this, you know, people hone in on those things, and we all have those moments of like, I don't have that quick, easy answer. I can't be put comfortably in this box, and therefore I'm a bit of an outlier. So it's interesting. I think a lot of people would relate to that feeling.
Definitely. And once you break free from it, you realize how pretend it really is.
100%.
And people just ask the same stuff over and over again. And, you know, what do you do? And how's the weather? It's the same kind of thing. They're just finding things to relate.
Yeah.
They are feeling the same thing, wanting to relate back to you. So when they ask you these things, it's actually them trying to be personable. But you're freaking out.
Yeah.
You know, so I've gone through the motions of like what I do, what I don't do, you know, but and now that I've had some success with the latest business, I actually dial it down. And I make sure, like, I try and go like, oh, I just, you know, sell suitcases on the internet. And they're like, oh, cool. They don't know how to respond to that. And it's like the reverso of all the, you know, all the pressure and tension leading, you know, for the last 20 years leading up to that.
Yeah.
Whereas now I'm like, I don't really want to talk about it.
It's really
so interesting.
Yeah, because, well, it sounds like and this is me hazarding a guess.
Yeah.
you seem pretty content then, because some people would almost be saying needing to prove that they've done well enough so then they'd want a big note, whereas you're like, no, I'm really happy with what I'm doing. I've been running my own game, so I'm achieving what I actually want to achieve. So you don't need to go like broadcast it and big note yourself.
Definitely not. No. And if anything, I actually, and my wife and my friends around me will know this, I hate talking about work. I hate talking about it. I hate people who ask, what do you do? That whole
Great,
notion
you're on
of
this
it.
podcast then. Oh.
Yeah, well, I mean, no, but it's the podcast is a bit different, you know. It's because it's just such a default answer, and I've had so much of it in the past, where it's like, you know, let's find something else. You know, we're more than our careers. You know, this is relevant to the podcast.
We're more than a score, aren't we,
We're more
Laura?
than a score. Love it. Love that jumper. More than our careers, more than a score, more than the job that we do at that current point in time.
Yeah.
And it actually forces you to just be a cooler person outside of work. Because if you're only doing the job and you're only doing that thing and you're only worried about one thing, you don't have any depth. You don't have anything else to talk about. And go and do something else. Go and read something. Go and learn a language. Go and start something on the side and we'll volunteer or do something. It just makes you a more interesting person when you take that component out of your life.
I do think, though, like most of the people that we've interviewed are around our age, you know, moving into their 40s. And it's interesting how their definition of success has shifted, you know, to being one thing in a career to being really a much more whole-rounded, you know, individual, wanting to sort of find success in various places instead of just in a career.
Because we have kids and you realise it's not all about clocking hours. That's probably part of it.
Totally.
But we want more out of life. You know, vacations make more sense now. Side hobbies make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, depth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that idea. We're not any one thing. I think it's just a matter of time till you realise that there's more to you than just, the work you do or, you know, the score that you got or anything like that. The idea, like I guess for the person listening is it's so lovely to hear you had this positive experience before, let's say, year 12 of you enjoyed school, you were there around all the different people, you get to learn this really cool stuff. I know you also said now you look back and you realise that's a pretty special time. Then you have this really tricky point where you finish school and you go, oh man, I feel like I've flunked, or like this is a really hard point, so I'm going to have to make a shift. So looking back at the change that happened, so early 2000s, you graduate from high school, you then move in to run a chicken shop. So you start to do charcoal chicken, take over a business there, run that out in Baronia. You then move through to start to do an advertising and marketing degree. And I know every time I say one of these steps, there's so many stories in this. Then you move on to start, and if I got this right, a marketing consultancy company, founded Thieves Coffee. So again, starting another thing, founded Neighbourhood, a co-working space. Yeah. And then eventually, more recently, founded July, the week after you had your first child. Is that right?
Give or take, yeah.
Give or take.
Yeah.
And 1 year before a global pandemic affected travel worldwide.
Wild.
Yeah, pretty close. Yeah.
So there's this really amazing journey. And the key point I think is when you finished up school, you said, no, I'm not going to go to uni right now. I'm going to wait and try and learn and start my own business and do that. And throughout that time, when I look back at that, the real thread is you creating and starting and slowly growing and growing and growing things where you've hit this point now where, as you said before, like it's going much more successfully than you ever envisioned. What's this pull that you had to create and start things?
It could just be because I didn't know what to do. And as long as you keep moving, like in traffic, you can be on the right path, but you're stuck. Or you can take the side streets. It might take you twice as long, but you're moving and you feel like you're progressing and doing something. That's probably what that is, where I'm on Punt Road and I've gone, this is chaos. You just turn left and you just follow your way through it, roundabouts, chicanes, this and that, but you get your way through. Always keen to try new things. And in amongst all those things were other things as well. So obviously, like we sold the business, that chicken shop business. I was 18 straight out of high school, did a year of it. That's 80, 90 contact hours, right? A week. Crazy. I was begging for university. I was coming out of that, seeing all my friends having a great time, 20, 25 contact hours a week. I was like, send me there. I'm all in on this. Went to uni and studied my ass off. So had I had continued from high school with that poor level of effort that I was doing in those last couple of years and continued to uni, probably would have carried through. Having then jumped into the real world of work cleaning Bain Marie's and things like that and grills for 80 hours a week, not getting paid, to then go back into 20 contact hours. This was easy. Studying was a breeze. Having done, and I would say I did relatively well at university too. So it was funny to then come out of that. And the one thing that you missed is that I got a job at one of the largest advertising agencies called Ogilvy. And so I was there for 5 years, the only job I've had, only professional job I've had. And that taught me a lot as well. It taught me how to speak to clients, how to sell things and do all those other bits and pieces. The coffee business was started in amongst all that as a side business just to keep trying new things. And I guess maybe we go back to the benchmarking component or not being able to benchmark. Maybe I wasn't as good at that job as I should have been. So I'll try a couple of other things on the side to see if I can break free from that. And that business ended up taking off, which was fun. So then at a certain point, you are not good at your job because you're spending your time doing the other things. And so you have a trade-off. And I remember having a moment where I'd actually let a good friend down, a teammate down. I was like, maybe it's time. Maybe it's time to shift. And I did, left that business in order to jump into my own. And from there on in, it's very hard to go back because you are running your own race and you're trying new things. With every new business, with everything that you do, you're learning something new. And it's important to jump to new things so that you can learn something so that you can keep growing. At the end of the day, you want to be able to support a family. You want to be able to have some money, have some success. Once you do a business, you don't know how good or bad it is until you do it. And so, every one of those is a lesson for me.
How do you decide? Because you've gone coffee, co-working space, suitcases. Like if I'm trying to connect the dots in terms of why these particular businesses.
Arrogance.
Is it?
Well, it's creative problem solving. You sort of see that opportunity and go like, I think I can do that.
Yeah.
I think I can make something of this.
So you're in Melbourne and you think coffee. Like no one's doing that?
I think it was a slightly different business.
It's slightly different.
What is that? Tell me.
So the idea was that there were all these new roasters popping up. Nobody had really done anything interesting with these guys in the sense that there was no discovery platform. So, and because e-commerce subscriptions, they were all relatively new concepts 15 odd years ago.
Yeah. So when are you starting this? What year?
I can't remember, to be honest.
15 years ago-ish.
After uni, 2 years into my full-time
Like
job.
2010-ish.
TBC, I couldn't. I actually couldn't tell you the year.
For all the listeners out there, can you please check, fact check for us? Let us know when Athan started.
Yes.
Maybe 2013. I don't know. I don't know anyway.
Yeah.
But subscription models were pretty new, and
It was all new stuff, and we were learning that stuff at the agency that I was working at. I was like,
Yeah.
I can do this on the side. This is all learnings I can take from here. And it was basically discover a new coffee roaster once a month. And so that was the best job in the world. I would go to coffee roasters, have coffee with them. They'd let me try new things. We're like, cool, that's the one that we're going to feature. Write their story and then ship it off. It's a really interesting, fun side hustle. Cash flow was good. Money came up front through the subscription. So I never had to really worry about it that much. And it was a fun business that ended up just continued to grow. We ended up being Australia's largest online coffee retailer, doing just under 3 ton a month in beans.
Wow.
Crazy. So, there's been some fun learnings, but like I'm horrible at the books, horrible at the finance side of things, which is why to this day, those last couple of businesses, I've worked with really smart, numbers-driven guys coming to the realization that I can't do everything, that finding the right people to help you grow into new things is what matters more than anything. You can't do it all on your own.
Yeah.
Unless you're a genius.
We talk about this about school, how wild it is that we expect people to be able to do everything. Like you need to have a wide breadth of subjects. It's likely that if you're not a numbers person, you're not going to do that in your job. You're going to outsource that, which is what you're saying now. So like, would it be better to hone your skills and capabilities even at high school and get really good at those things? Because you're not ever going to be the maths whiz.
Yeah, I mean, you still need to know some numbers, right? You still need to be able to do some things. So don't like not do the math classes.
numeracy is important, everyone.
And for the numbers people out there, like don't not do English, right? Like do all the things.
Yeah.
Do all the things. But as you grow later in life, you come to realize what you want to be doing. You might be able to do it, but not be as good as somebody else. There's just so many things in life where you don't have to want to rely on just yourself. You need a partner in life, in business, in in fun. You want to be able to share moments and experiences. I think it's just a more well-rounded approach to take on for things for the rest of your life.
And Athan, so every episode at some point there's sort of like a thread or a big theme that comes through, and the thing that's sort of jumping out to me is this idea of you choosing to run your own game. A lot of people when they're starting up think they have to be everything, but it sounds like you have been pretty clear that you need other people around you and you play to their strengths instead of you being arrogant enough to think, I can just do it all, I'll do this. And this has been the payoff as well. And you've also been really aware of spotting opportunities that maybe other people miss. As you think back with all of the different stories, and I know like if we brought you in for numerous episodes with every single one of those different things that you've done, that could be an episode unto itself. But when you think of your journey, what have been the most helpful skills or approaches for you to just keep learning, making progress? What have been the most helpful skills and ways of thinking?
Hands-on experience for me has always been the number one thing. I mean, we did it at RMIT when I studied there as part of the course. We did it, like I look for it for anybody I'm hiring now. They need to have hands-on stuff, and everything that I've done has always been hands-on. I think you only learn by doing it. You'll never realize everything, but the more that you can keep moving and keep trying new things, you pick up one or two pieces and then you carry on to the next thing. For me, hands-on experience is by far the most fundamental skill, or at least the mentality of wanting to be hands-on.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people just like, I can just sit on a computer, send off a few things and hope for the best. And, you spend enough time on YouTube, you see these Lambo guys trying to sell you the dream, just going like, yeah, you can live in Bali and, drop ship from China and call it a day. Maybe they've figured out a way to do it. I like to think the other way, just like don't be afraid to get your hands dirty. It keeps you closer to the ground, it keeps you closer to the work. It's an interesting way to do it. And I'd say it doesn't matter what your career is, from doctor, lawyers,
suitcases,
salesman. Right? The works.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to get your hands dirty.
If you're a listener, so either you're going into like post school or you're a parent of a young person, when you say hands-on experience, because you sort of smiled as you said at RMIT we had hands-on experience. Is there a specific moment that you think of where you can describe what hands-on experience actually means?
Yeah, we did work experience with agencies in amongst the course. So we had maybe 30 industry professionals take us in. We probably did a year's worth of work experience within a 3-odd year course. Invaluable. Yeah. Because then how business works, how these guys are running things. It's not a theoretical approach to how things are done. And high school, uni, it's all theoretical. A lot of people are talking about how useless it is. I don't think it's that useless, but it's great. It's great for self-discovery. You know what you want to do. You start to see other subjects, you meet other people. I think it's great for that stuff. The more hands-on stuff you can get, the more work experience you can get, the better. And I know for my kids, it's 100%. Let them do whatever they want to do, but they're going to be hands-on kids for sure.
If you're someone who has been protected by the education system, let's say that you've been sitting in classrooms, reading books, doing everything theoretically, what are some of the steps you would encourage them to take to get that hands-on experience? How do you get it if you feel like, I don't know where to start?
Carving out the time and then just asking the question, where can I go if I needed to be more well-rounded? I think a lot of people use like Harvard entry checklists.
Oh, yeah.
To as a guidance. Not that I think that's the be-all and end-all, but it's a great understanding or a clear view of what somebody could look for and a well-roundedness approach to being a human being, which is like volunteer work experience, a social component. There's all these things. So look, just carve out the time and send an email. You were talking about sending an email just before.
Yes.
And getting a very famous person on the podcast.
Yes.
It doesn't take much. And, I can't remember the quote you said, but the other one's Wayne Gretzky, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So take a shot, see what happens. You're not going to get everything, but maybe you get one of them, and that's pretty good too.
Yeah, I say to my 3 girls, I mean, I've got a 2-year-old, so whether or not she's actually listening, I think she is more than I realise.
She will eventually.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we say it's always no unless you ask.
That's right. Yeah.
And then we also say, why wouldn't you try too? Because it's just that idea of trying to promote, it's okay to give it a go. Yeah. And let's just see what happens.
Yeah.
And I think the older you get, the more you realise people are just people, right? see people doing these incredible things and you feel intimidated or why would they talk to me? But actually doing this podcast is a great example. Actually, people do like to share their story. They want to be helpful. And if they've learnt some lessons, they're really happy to share. So I think that if you can remind yourself that people are just people, no matter what job they have or what status they might appear to have.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's the trick for public speaking, right? Just imagine
totally.
everyone else is naked. So they are. Everyone's just normal. Everyone's a normal human.
Ethan, one of the things I picked up on, so I was doing some digging around and I saw it on LinkedIn. So, you know, we know LinkedIn's a very trustworthy platform, obviously.
I do a lot of shit posting on LinkedIn, mate.
So you've got here, this is a quote that you've put on your profile. I hope you don't mind me reading this out. It says, "You're born with 30,000 days to live. The best strategic planning I can give you is to think about that."
That's somebody else's quote that I re-quote, but I can't remember who the original guy was. So I'm 100% claiming this thing now, you know. But that's a real thing that I live by, that I stand by for myself. It's only 30,000 days, and the first 10,000 is you cracking 30. The last 10,000 is 60 to 90. You've got 10,000 to find yourself, 10,000 to make money, do what you need to do, family, house, holidays, experience, all those things. 10,000 days. And then 60 to 90 is like cruise, hopefully, grandkids and whatever else you do, play golf and all that other crap. So when you nut it down, you go, well, what did I do before 30? Not much. And most people don't do much pre-30. In hindsight, you look at it and go, cool, work experience, you travelled a bit, you did a Kentucky tour, you know, congratulations, you went to high school, congratulations, you played footy for a bit, good for you. 10,000 days is all you have to make impact for what you want to do. That's wild. That's a wild thing to think about. And I haven't thought about it for a while. Thanks for the reminder. I've got shit to do now. But
He seems fired up now, Laura.
yeah. It's just a reminder of like, well, you don't have many days. You don't have many days at all. And so if I'm 40 now, I've got 6,000 days left till crack 60. Mate, that's nothing. That's nothing. And there's so many things to do. I barely can do a jump on a ski run. So I've got to get onto that. But yeah, anyway, for me, it's a really nice framework to like, don't waste it. And if I have to loop it back and go, maybe I did waste a couple of opportunities in my youth, wouldn't it be good now to catch up on that and make up for lost time? And
that's interesting because I think you can't go back anyway. So my theory is always, well, what are you going to take from that to learn from it to then help you with the next, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 that you might get? It really resonated with me when I read that because 2 years ago, I worked out the number of days until I was 50. It was like 4,317. I started thinking of like key things that I wanted to, not just tasks, but like things that I wanted to look back on. So when I was reading that, I thought it was a really lovely way of describing it because it makes it really concrete and it also makes it a bit freeing to just give things a go and try it out.
There's no wrong answers in life.
Well, this is... so.
I mean, don't kill anybody, but that one's wrong. But outside of that, there's no wrong answers.
Well, this is interesting because I was wondering, okay, so if you had the Didaskalou 10,000 days course to get the most out of 10,000 days, besides not killing people... what would you want to have as the core content so that people could get the most out of their 10,000 days? And we know that everything looks different for everyone, but what would be the core things that you would put into that 10,000 days course?
I'll reference a couple of people that I think have done that do this really well in that they are not afraid to ask people to catch up and do things. And I think that's a really special thing. It's very easy to just every week slump in, not do anything on the weekend. But there are certain people, my business partner is definitely one of them, he'll just connect with someone and say, let's just go for coffee, makes a connection. That connection turns into something else, flies a helicopter with them 3 weeks later into a winery. Like, cool. Fuck yeah, cool, And I think now he dropped it on me. He is studying to be a pilot out of nowhere. I'm like, why? He's like, I just thought, I had time. Why not?
He's carving out the time. So
he's carving out the time. He drives to Lilydale and just gets it done, So I admire that. I admire the people who just go get it done and put the time aside to do those things. That would be definitely in the course, like trying how to do that better.
So make the time. So ask to catch up.
Ask to catch up.
Connections.
Yeah. And fill the time. Yeah.
And then carve out the time too.
Oh, mate, on the spot. There's one other thing a friend of mine when I asked him, I said, mate, you're so good at work and you're so good at home, because I see him in this family environment. Like, how do you do it? How do you get the energy? He goes, mate, I don't give a shit about anybody at work. And if you're 110% at work, you need to be 150% when you get home. Like, these are the people you actually care about. So why do you come home and then you're tired, you don't really want to say anything? Because that's not how it works. You do 150 at home and you give work 110, and you make sure that that's always the formula. I always make sure that the home is better than the office. I was like, that's great energy.
Yeah.
That
So
is
knowing
great
where
energy.
you put what you value and then where you're putting the energy to.
Yeah. I do it. I get home, I'm cooked. I just want to sit on the couch, don't really want to say anything. How was
Yeah.
work? Yeah, it was fine, you know.
Well, Laura and I were both teachers, and I can remember
Yeah.
back to that, especially some days when I remember when I was an assistant principal, it was some really hard days. Yeah, I remember I actually sat in the car in the driveway for a while because I had to regroup before I could actually get in
Everyone
there.
knows
And it was
that
just
car
crumbs.
time, how
And even
important
then
it
I
is.
spent
Yeah.
about half an hour in the
Yeah.
car. I felt really guilty doing that. But then I came in and I still just gave crumbs because I couldn't work out the best way to manage
Crumbs.
how I could actually give them the energy.
Yeah. It's a nice thing. And I think once you start doing that, you get rewarded back with things like time, with things like love, and you can go, well, why don't we try this? Maybe emotional protection to then say, maybe I do want to be a pilot. Well, maybe I do want to try something else. And then instead of it being met with pushback, it's met with opportunity. Like, go for it.
Yeah.
Go for it. Take that morning off.
I think it's really nice to be, I don't want to say it's brave, but to be willing to continually reinvent yourself based on how you're feeling. I think that, you know, there's so many people that think, I did this, and now I'm this thing, and they put themselves in that box. And actually, you're the one doing that. Everyone around you doesn't really mind that much. In fact, people go, oh, that's awesome. Like, you're actually going to break out the box and do something else. But I think that we need to allow ourselves the opportunity to be maybe what not everyone else expects. Like what you said, like the pilot thing, you're like, oh, that's awesome. But a lot of people will go, but I'm not a pilot, so I'm not going to try. It's like, why not?
Why not? I can almost, give the compliment to my mum on this.
Yeah.
Both my parents are entrepreneurs and they've done their own thing. But my dad's always done it in areas where he knows the topic and he knows the areas and the category. We're always willing to try, but kind of already knows what's going on, or at least he thinks he knows. Mum has always been, I don't know, like very self-aware to be like, I know nothing about this. I'm starting from zero and I'm happy to start from zero and let's just see where this takes me. And she's done maybe 4 different things: shoemaker, dressmaker, she's now a cake maker, she's insurance. They've done everything. So, and for her, she's like, I'm just going to go to Box Hill TAFE, learn how to make dresses and start from zero. Or I want to do quilting. It's going to take me 2 years. I'm starting from zero. And so she's been very good at showing us that knowing nothing's okay.
That's so cool.
You know, and it's a cool thing. To your comments, like,
Yeah.
just be okay with it.
Yeah.
Some people don't want to feel like they don't want to feel like they don't know anything.
But I think it comes back to that point about the barbecue conversation,
Yeah.
right? It does. It comes, I want to be able to say that I want to be categorized or categorizable maybe. But I love the fact that how brave it is to be like, I actually don't know, but I'm going to give this a go at like 40, 50, 60. So this a few times about, you know, success before 30. I'm like, yeah, I get it. But I think everyone's kind of carving their way. I actually think changing direction and doing something different later in life is actually a lot braver.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I love that.
Well, I mean, all the best people I know found themselves over 30, post 30. No one does anything pre 30, you know. If you're lucky, maybe, great,
Yeah.
right? And I think that gets amplified on social media.
That's what I mean. It's
Yeah.
this, we really validate that. But
There's 24-year-olds with Ferraris and they're doing all these things, and it's always the Lambos and the Ferraris, you know, and if you spend enough time on YouTube. But but I think it gets blown up, particularly with like that American success culture.
Sure.
But for the most part,
I'm fascinated by this 10,000 days course. Because I'd sign
Yeah,
up.
really-
And
you
then-
really are
No,
bang
I'm
on
just
about
trying to
this,
think because I'm thinking. Imagine if you're the listener, right? Like
Totally.
sitting there listening to someone. Because I think what you're offering to is a really unique way to see things, but a really freeing way. And especially just now, that's so interesting. It sounds like your mum's also modelled a lot of this. Because I can hear a lot of connections between what your mum has done to the way that you've approached a lot of this success. You've got sort of these 4 modules already. And then it sounds like there's a 5th one, which is the way that you spot opportunities to go, I don't know anything about this, but I'm going to give it a try and learn it, to help the listener Is there a way that you spot opportunities or that you actually notice that something's an opportunity? Like with the coffee roasters,
Yeah.
you spotted that there was an opportunity there. Or with the suitcases, you spotted that there was an opportunity and a new way to do things. Is there a way that you think about things to notice an opportunity? Because I think that's almost like another module in this 10,000 days course.
I think you just got to be open to trying new things. The more you do, the more you'll know. I relate starting businesses to like running a race, running a track race. You're never going to win your first race. You do one, you do two, you get the shoes, you get the top, you understand how it works, you see all the guys, you train a little bit more, you get fitter and fitter. By the 30th race, maybe you win. But by the 30th business idea comes around, or the 30th opportunity, you've already had the training, you've already got the runners, you know exactly what you need to eat that day. You know exactly what you need to do in order for it to be success. I would say July was a bit like that. It's kind of like our 30th run. But there's been so much leading up to it that built what it is. And we could get that off the ground within 6 months. If we had done that 10 years ago, it would have taken us 3 years.
Yeah.
So it's a really, I think the best way to think about it is just start. Do something. It might not be the best one, but 5 ideas later, it could be a great one. You don't know where it's going to lead you. Take the side street, get off the main road, figure out how to get home.
Can I ask, is there a moment?
You can ask whatever you want.
Yeah, you know what? And I edit the podcast, and I hear myself say that all the time. It's obviously it's a moment for me to think about how I want to phrase the question.
There's your mics.
Yeah, you take your time, Laura. Go for it. Can I ask you, Laura?
Can I ask, while I'm thinking what to ask you, the moment that the seed for July sprouted, what happened? Where did the inspiration come from, or was there a moment?
It was more around my business partner and I wanting to do something together. And
you hadn't worked together prior?
No, but we had connected over the course of a year. We'd catch up for coffee, talk ideas.
You were in a co-working space, is that right?
He wasn't there, but we had met just through the thing, but I was doing the co-working stuff and we were just talking about what we should do together. So I was still selling the coffee, but at that time I was selling the coffee into China while also running the co-working spaces. And he was doing online furniture business. It was killing it. We both had different needs and opportunities we wanted to try and jump on. And so we would catch up and, you know, we see each other as the opposites to what we need as well. You know, he needs the creative side. How do we create a brand that means something? How do we do something outside of just making product and selling it? And I needed that scale manufacturing finance side, which is really difficult to nail unless you've done 4 or 5 things in the past and learnt and gotten burnt and figured that out. So it was more around working together. You know, when you find the partner first, it's even easier.
Yeah.
Because there's at least a common understanding.
Yeah.
There's at least a good relationship as the basis.
So why suitcases then?
They're hard to make.
Are they?
Yeah, and it's owned by mostly Samsonite. The category is owned by Samsonite mostly. So it's Samsonite, American Tourister, Tumi. They're all owned by the one company.
Right.
And we just thought we could do something cool. It's really simple.
You're smiling talking about it.
Well, like the name kind of reinforced it when we came up with the name July. We're like, it's cool. Nobody owns it. It's a great time of year to travel.
Yeah.
The best time of year to travel. And
From Australia.
From Australia, yeah, because we all leave to Europe. But the Europeans have the summer holidays in July, and the Americans have their big holiday
Globally
July 4th.
works.
Globally.
It's like you're a branding person.
Except for the equator. Anyone in the equator, it's like, doesn't mean anything.
You know
it's
your
okay.
target market.
Yeah.
So.
Singapore, July doesn't mean squat, but it's fine. You know, we get it. So it was good. That kind of helped reinforce it. We're like, this could be a big thing. And making something where you own the brand, you own the design. We had come from different places where that meant something. Controlling your margin, not getting copycats, being able to double down on branding, like it just creating something that we wanted to be proud of. Also, we're getting older. We wanted to create legacy. Yeah. Right? We've done a few of these now. How can we do something that might be our last one? You know, because they're tiring. They're it's quite taxing to start something from scratch and having to explain and always be on and always be selling.
So how do you start to make a good product like that? As you said, you look at it, you're like, this is hard to make. There's a huge monopoly over a product like this. How do you do that?
And just before Athan answers, I think as well, with all the YouTube content creators out there that are making entrepreneurialism sound so easy and doable as well, I just think it's really interesting too, like for you to think of how you did it as well.
Yeah.
What was the question?
How do you actually, like, you've got this idea, but then you're executing, you're creating a good product that you're really proud of. How do you, and as I said to you, like, it's a really monopolized space with Samsonite owning it. How do you create a product that's slightly different that's yours?
I mean, you just keep moving. You just keep, you find it out. Like there is a little bit of arrogance. There is a little bit of stupidity to entering a category you know nothing
Naivety,
about.
maybe?
Naivety, yeah. Stupidity.
Self-belief.
Yeah, that's That's sorry, education podcast. So gotta keep it.
No.
Keep it positive.
No, but I mean, maybe there is a bit of that ignorance. Maybe just why not?
Oh, you just it plays into it. You want to say I want to beat these guys who have been in the category for 100 years. How do I beat them? And so I mean, our business exists because they've been sleeping at the wheel. So for us, there was an opportunity there to create something nice, and it worked. You never know it's going to work.
Yeah.
We were lucky in that first year, very unlucky for the couple of years after, and then very lucky again after the fact, after COVID. If we did this podcast 3 years ago, we would say, what a bad idea suitcases was. And we wouldn't have seen COVID, and nobody's travelled for a couple of years, and therefore nobody's buying suitcases. We would have been doing something completely different. So sometimes the market lends itself to what the opportunity is, and you never know where you're going to be.
Yeah.
So just put your best foot forward and keep trying.
How do you persevere? Like, I mean, so many indicators outside of yourself, COVID's going on, would suggest that should we keep going? How or why did you persevere?
My wife's rich, so it helps a lot. Marry well. Education podcast. 10,000 days, module 1.
Yes,
That's
module 1.
Marry well.
I actually think that backs up with the data. They say that the biggest indicator for success is like the life partner you choose.
Well, definitely the life partner in terms of opportunity. I mean, I'm being facetious, but it helps that she was working and helped survived.
Yeah.
Us and the business in the sense that particularly that first year of COVID was tough. But definitely your life partner, man, it's a big one. They're not supportive in any of the crazy stuff. Particularly for me, I'll use me as the reference, whereas I'm not a white-collar professional climbing the ladder and doing all that. And maybe for my wife, coming from Singapore and having a certain Asian expectation on what income should be, that could have been tough. And I'm like, what about co-working spaces?
You were pitching her.
How would you feel about that?
Yeah.
So partners do make a thing, but actually, I would say the biggest lesson I learned trying to apply for a job at Microsoft, straight out of uni, I flunked the interview straight away, and it was because of my sales processes. I didn't know how to sell. I was just loud, but not strategic and not smart enough to know how to sell. And I think one of the biggest things I've learned over time, and what I can see in other people where they succeed, is they can sell. And it's not always the typical selling, but they can sell themselves, or they sell an idea, or just get excited about something and be able to tell you in a really concise and entertaining way where the other people jump on board. I feel like that's a really great skill that not too many people know that they have to hone.
It's funny because I used to always describe what Laura's
We're
laughing.
giggling because that's Dan.
He's a great salesman.
Yeah, and I said to him, like, I get the ick. The idea of like going into something and I'm in education, right? Like, there's not a lot I've got to sell, but I get the ick with the idea of someone like coming in strong and selling. And Dan's like, I don't see it like that. We've had this conversation.
I always think of
so
it
many
as helping
times.
because it's funny. From the moment that I started teaching, I was fascinated with teaching maths because a lot of the time when I was a student at school, people would say I'm not good at maths, and then when I went into teaching, all these teachers were saying, I'm terrified of teaching maths. So it was just this confidence thing for students and teachers.
Right.
And I used to love teaching maths and then teaching people how to teach maths because every day I used to describe you're selling maths. You have to sell to the kids that this idea is worth taking on and that it matters. Because otherwise kids sit there and go, oh, math, because they hear it from their parents.
Never going to use it.
Their parents, yeah, exactly right. Because a lot of people say their parents go like, oh, I wasn't good at maths, so you won't. So there's already this notion. So I used to always think I had to make it engaging and help them see the connections and make them believe that maths mattered.
Yeah.
But I've realised it's such a unique skill set to be able to now go, well, if you can build up an idea of this is worth your time, here's the connection, this is the benefit it's going to make. I've now stepping out of schools, I've realised that's actually quite a unique skill set to be able to have.
It's great.
But you just do it naturally, right? Like,
But it's not a icky way.
No,
Do you know what I mean?
I'm not
Because
like.
they're-
No,
Do
you're
you know
a
what?
salesman, but,
That's right.
but knowing
That's
how to
right.
sell and the salesman approach to different
Totally.
things.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
a really
which
interesting thing.
It is
yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
So that's really fascinating because to help the person that's listening, then it's because some people would hear sales and they'd say, right, there's this way that I have to do this, this, and this. But you are actually saying it's about selling a story or like sharing a story, being able to speak succinctly, being able to connect with people, being able to talk confidently.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can get that anywhere. You could volunteer being a nurse for a year or two and it's all sales. You know, you got to deliver results. You got to talk to different people. You got to make sure that they know that they are comfortable, that you know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all sales. That's definitely, anyway, just to go back to the lesson.
No, it's
the
not.
I
life
think
lessons.
sort of drilling down on what you mean by sales is really helpful, actually, because I think people perhaps have a perception on, but no, actually, it's selling yourself, selling the idea, selling why people might want to engage with it. There's so many, and storytelling.
Yeah, definitely.
Man, you're really trying to connect with people. That's what you want, right?
Yeah.
Connect at that time to say, is this going to be of help to you? And if it's not, that's okay. Whereas the difference between hard selling and still trying to push it down when they're actually telling you, I don't need that, I need this instead, but you're just not picking it up.
I'm
Yeah.
sold. Connect.
Athan, I'm really mindful of your time as well because I feel like we could just keep talking to you forever.
Yeah.
There's two probably questions that I wanted to come back to because I was mindful of in your pre-pod form, you spoke about how supportive your parents were. So I'm mindful when we think of our listener, a lot of them are parents, so within sort of our age gap and also within their 20s. What was it that your parents did that was so helpful for you no matter all the successes and failures? What was it your parents did that showed they were really supportive to you?
I never got judged for any of the things that I did. And I look back and go, that's tough. I don't know if I would have been that strong to have done that if that was my kid. You know, that's really tough. Like their Greek background, obviously they're a bit more modern than some of the old school Greeks, but at the same time, still influenced by their surroundings. There was a certain expectation to have done something, but I can, for as long as I can remember, it doesn't matter what I've done, there's always been 110 support behind it. Not without question, definitely some constructive criticism and feedback, but I could have just made anything up. And I think of the things that I've made up, even to this day, okay, July is somewhat a success now, but to have gone after all this and just about to have a kid to say, this stuff that I'm doing, I'm actually going to start manufacturing suitcases. What the fuck? Like, that is not, do you know what I mean? Like, can you imagine being a parent and just
Yeah.
going like, fuck, I'm going to have to support this guy into his 40s. Like,
He's only got 10,000 days.
he's only got 10,000. What's going on? Yeah. It's just when you think of this stuff and go, all the things that have happened in the past, particularly like leaving, I actually wanted to quit my full-time job, that advertising job within the first 3 weeks. Because I'm like, this is not for me. First corporate job, first 3 weeks, had a coffee with my dad at the bottom of the cafe. And he's like, give it a couple of months. Like that's 3 weeks is nothing. Give it a couple of months. And so they've always just been super supportive, but in a really weird way, like not overly positive, like, oh, great work, son. Like none of that jazz. Just not criticizing, not like, well, you could have done that, but that's okay. Don't worry about it. What do you want to do? Chicken chop? Sure. You want to do this? Yeah, cool. I know a guy. Let's use this guy. And just sort of been supportive along the way, and just never really been judgmental. And I think of my kids now, and particularly like with one of them where we've had to make a call. Like he's in kinder, about to go to prep. You're looking at me like, come on, mate.
Prep is the next step.
But there was like a grey area. Should he stay back or not?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, he's 100. He's going 100%. He's going. This kid, what do these teachers know? They don't know anything. They don't know this kid. He's definitely going. And just through the journey of all that, realizing that I wasn't being the support network that my parents were. I was like, I'm pushing this kid to do something, and I'm being super critical on this stuff. And he's only 5 years old, so. It's been a reflection on me on like how I would want. I think of my parents and go, shit, I don't know how they were that supportive, but they were. I'm fortunate enough to be able to have broken through it and feel like I've gotten some success to be able to show them. But I guess like that's kind of the support that they gave me, in this really weird, non-overly positive, but still very supportive direction. It's a very hard thing to talk about, actually. I don't really know how to describe it.
I want to reflect on that 3 weeks. You're at your marketing job. Like, I don't really want to do this. What is the decision to call your dad for that conversation? Why are you calling him? Of all the people in your life,
We're very close. Yeah.
What do you know he's going to give you in that moment? Because you know that you want out, and you've decided to call your dad. What is he giving you in that moment?
Again, my parents both they had their own businesses. They're very close with us, and I respect his opinion more than anything else. So did I talk to my friends about it? Probably not really.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I told him about it.
Yeah.
And he was the one that kept me in there. He's just like, just do it for a bit, and I stayed for 5 years.
Yeah.
So based on that chat, I definitely would have resigned because I don't care at that stage, right? I'm like, whatever,
Yeah,
I'm just going to do my own thing. But yeah, he kept me there, which is an interesting thing. Why him? We're close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
even
it's-
today, I see my parents almost every day.
Yeah. And something
Very Greek.
you can't
Very
create
Greek.
in a moment, right? Like that's like lifelong development of a relationship like that.
That's right. Yeah.
And-
But sometimes you get those like fuck, this is a weird thing to talk about, I guess, but not everyone's got that. But I know there was a certain point, particularly at university, I remember listening. I was listening to 3AW. I remember I was in the Doncaster Westfield car park as I was pulling in
Shop
somewhere.
over all the people from back in the 90s
right,
and early
yes.
2000s.
And Neil said something like, call the person that you respect the most and tell them why and tell them because you don't always get the chance. I remember calling him. Out of character moment that, and I think at that point changed our relationship into more of a like less father son, more like, we're friends.
It's not well
That's so
because you go into
lovely.
the like it's such a lovely moment.
It's really
I had a
lovely.
similar thing with my dad where that sort of thing because I realized I had a realization of all the things that he'd done for me, and in that moment I don't think he'd ever known the impact that it had.
Yeah.
But it makes a really profound difference too. And listening to what you said because I'm so interested to always find out like people say support and what it looks like. Like your dad stayed curious, so he didn't just say tell you what to do. He's like, well, what do you think you should do? He told you to take a pause. So instead of just like, go resign. So take a moment, hey, just wait a couple of months. And then he also helps connect you to different people as well.
Good frameworks.
Yeah. But that's the thing, right? Because that's what you've got in your head. And I think that's what you also get passed on, right? Like that's the thing. And he made the time for you as well.
Yeah.
That's the other thing too.
That's true. Making the time. Yeah. It's a really good one.
You said that at the very beginning, carving out the time, making
Oh,
the time.
yeah,
for
I
this.
did.
That's you.
Look at that. Full circle.
God. Oh, yes. We always aim for a full circle, don't we?
Oh, look at that. How that works. Yeah.
I had no. So you got a little emotional before when you're talking about calling up your dad. I had a moment. This sounds very strange. So I've done a similar thing with my dad, and I remember I was in tears in the end when I did it with him. I had it like when I saw a teacher, Mr. Condonopoulos. I can't remember if I've done a shout out to him already on this podcast.
I know
Heard the
Con
name.
lives across the road from my dad.
So I love Con. So Con was someone that took an interest. I bombed out in like year 9, just went off the rails.
Yeah.
Year 10, he took I got told that I shouldn't keep doing maths. He took an interest in me. I went from being like doing A's to like failing, like being told just terrible. He took an interest in me. I saw him on a tram when I was about 28. And I'd always said if I saw him ever again, I'd tell him what a difference. And I finally gathered up the moment to come up to him after the football on the tram. And I said, you were a really great teacher. Thank you so much. You made a difference to me. And then I started like welling up because there was this profound thing of like, well, you took a really big interest in me and you changed my life. But it's really, I don't think we make the time to do it.
He would have loved that.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And then I jumped off the tram. The tram, I was like, see ya. And I got off. I panicked. But I think there's moments where people make a big difference, but we don't always make the time to say it. So maybe we should say on here, Laura, like maybe you should go call that influential person because it sounds like it made a big difference to you.
It did make it. Maybe you just need the push. So yeah, definitely. And if you're listening, pick up the phone. Call that person.
I do love that it just changed you stepping up and making that phone call actually change your relationship, you said.
Definitely.
Oh, I love that.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that moment. I mean, there would have been a million other things, I guess, but that moment was definitely one of them.
I wonder if your dad would say the same.
Yeah, I'll ask him if he remembers it. That'd be
yeah.
weird.
Let's call Ethan.
Listen to my podcast and send a DM.
This is a two-parter. We'll have Ethan's dad join us at the next one. No, Ethan, thank you so much for joining us. I'm very mindful of your time too. Something that we try and do at the end of every episode is to find out if you think of the listener, so you've probably got a bit of an idea of who the listener might be. Is there something that we should have asked you that would help the listener that we haven't?
If the listeners are mostly parents, support always. It's not the end of the world. And I'm definitely the testament to that. Like there is more than one pathway out there, and know what success is, know what your goal is. It can be a million different things to a million different people, and it changes year to year. And so all you can do as a parent is be as supportive as possible. And I'm still learning that as well. Even though I've got all the support, I've got the pathway, I've got the framework, I'm still figuring it out for myself. So I'd say for the parents out there, support as possible. And for the students out there, maybe they don't have that. Just keep trying, keep moving, try new things. Don't be afraid to try anything. Like, don't give a shit about anybody in the world. Just worry about you. Carve the time out.
Try new
things. Run your own game, definitely.
Athan Didaskalou, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, just showing off.
Score. I know. I'm very cockily saying the name. Thank you so much. If you do know someone that also followed a non-linear path or just a different path and has a story to share, always reach out to us at morethanascorepod@gmail.com, or Laura, our Insta handle is
@morethanascorepod on Instagram.
perfect. We've done very well, everyone. Athan, thank you so much.
you.
Hey,
Thanks,
we
guys.
normally
Thanks for being
finish by trying to do a really sweet, crisp high five. Can I try and do this across the table?
Yeah,
with you?
I'm going to see if I
All
can
right,
get a
let's
video.
go.
of
Well, I
this.
reckon we can nail this. We're pretty good. All right, you ready?
Hold on.
Oh, that was a good one. Yeah, you know it's a good one when someone actually reacts and goes, oh.
I actually think I missed it.
Oh, no, that's all right. But the audio captured it. It was super crisp. It actually reverberated and hit him in the face.
Yeah,
Did it?
Back from it.
Quick kickback.
Hey, thanks so much, mate. We appreciate
you.
it. Thank
Thanks for
you.
having me.
Great.
That's good. Wow, what a journey.
Yeah, we just took you on all the Yeah, thanks for being so open about it, though.
I feel like John Corse at Vinehop on the weekend. Remember John Corse? DJ. He was down at Vinehop on the weekend on the Mornington
I was
Peninsula.
there,
That was
and Dan's like, "Did you see John Corse?" I'm like, "I saw this old man DJing. I don't know."
It was an old man. He was. And then we all realised we're all old.
Well, this is what I mean. I'm like, well, I wasn't.
He was
target
adult
audience.
when we were kids, so he'd
Yeah.
be 50.
Yeah, he looked about that. Yeah, he had a good time there.